Welcome to the CloudGuard Introductory Compliance Training. Like our CloudGuard Network Security Introductory Training, this will assume that some cloud accounts have already been added. A user account or accounts should have already been created by your administrator or super user, as we refer to them in CloudGuard. So you can log in and run your own compliance report based on your posture management settings against the accounts that you have added. You can then review the assessment history, the alerts in the event viewer, and make additional security changes and recommendations based on these results. In our first session, we reviewed the importance of dashboards, the first screen that you see when you log in. We saw that you could customize these dashboards with these configurable widgets that allow you to drill down into the asset views that we reviewed the first time, as well as the posture management results that we will review in this session. So this dashboard, this particular dashboard, will be very important for the results of those compliance rule sets run, all emanating from the posture management menu selection. In our first session, though, we reviewed the assets, specifically the cloud environments that we imported into CloudGuard, and then we're able to review those assets, filter on those assets, export those in simple, easy to read CSV files or detailed asset exports that would send a link in your email that would allow you to download even more details about a specific asset. Even through this filtering process, and we talked about being able to do that and then drill down into these assets, we've found very important information about properties and entities with respect to those assets. And being able to review through a simple entity viewer the variables associated with a variety of different assets in a variety of different cloud accounts. We also reviewed organizational units where you could place accounts in specific OUs, as well as tie that to users and roles. So you can create an environment where some of you users can only see some accounts, others can see other accounts, or a group of users who can see all the accounts. This will give you a much better controlled environment on who can see, modify what accounts in what regions, wherever they might be. Regions in the sense that these specific sub-OUs can have real value as well and can be edited, deleted, modify as you see fit. We also looked at network security. That is, through our Configuration Explorer Clarity, you could visualize what has been virtualized in a variety of cloud environments. You could then drill down into the security group views, and based on the onboarding process, you can make changes to those security groups if they were in full protection, meaning read-write mode, or read only, just to review, acknowledge, and let others know of potential security profile misconfigurations. We also saw that you could use dynamic access leasing to gain access to specific areas within your AWS, yes, specific to AWS cloud environments. But for this session, we are focusing in on posture management. This is a rule or set of rules that allows you to run this rule set against cloud accounts or cloud account, review the results, export the results, and in some cases make changes to the variables that showed as failed in the resultant reports. There are two main categories in which to run these rule sets under, and that is through CloudGuard managed rule sets, where you can run these standards against your account or accounts, but you cannot modify those rules in any shape or form. You could exclude, and we'll look at that in a bit, certain rules from that, but you cannot make any changes. So with that said, we can really focus in on specific areas of concern that we think might be there. We can look at it from a specific foundation type, from a specific platform type. Yes, we can save those filters as well. We see that CloudGuard revises these frameworks, these standards from time to time. But whichever one you choose for these managed frameworks, we can see a set of rules, in this case, 25. We cannot delete them. We cannot modify them. We'll clone or copy the same term and certainly be able to do that. But for this first demonstration, we see these 25 rules. We can look at it from a severity level, that is the results, high, medium, or low. And those can be categorized or recategorized in our customization or cloning process. We can look at specific types for those rules and see a rule ID that is tied to the logic, the simple GSL logic associated with this. GSL is short for governance and specification language. For every standard rule, we have it documented in gsl.dome9.com. It is in our online documentation under resources, and we can look in detail what this rule is. We could copy this rule and test this rule, which we will for our customized rules. But know that we are documenting this. We are giving you a description, a remediation step. If this rule that is run against an account or accounts doesn't meet this security rule set, you are given specific instructions on how to make this secure relative to your department, organization, company. So this is certainly a good first step in understanding exactly what a rule set is, what a rule set can do and not do based on its standard or framework as listed here. We could just view the JSON file. We could copy and paste this into a text file for further review and modify and bring it into your own rule set. For this first example, we just want to run these 25 rules against a particular account and review those results in an interactive report that we can simply export or get some very particular details on the rules that failed that we need to take a closer look at. As an example, here in this interactive display, we see that we truly can highlight the pie chart, the bar graph, the regions. As we ran this rule set against multiple regions, we can certainly highlight that and get an idea on what has passed and what has failed on this rule set run that was run manually. And expand upon this rule set failure. Again, the same language that was used in the standard one is listed here about what the description is, what the security state should be with respect to this standard, and the logic associated with it, the GSL language, and more importantly, drill down on these entity types, whether it is an S3 bucket or a security group. With regards to a security group view that we're logging in right now under network security groups, we see that this security group has some access. And because we set this up in full protection or read-write mode, we have that ability to make a change to that. For an S3 bucket, there are remediation options as well. But for this first pass, we may just want to record this, export this, and share it with others. We will see shortly that you can run this report on a hourly, daily, weekly, or custom basis and have it, that is, its results sent to the events or alert console or emailed to individual or individuals. It all came from our rule set selection set. Now, that was the standard or CloudGuard manage. Now we want to take a look at customer manage. In this live demo environment, we have created many custom rule sets that we can modify to whatever our needs are. So how do we do that? Well, we'll start with what we used before relative to a particular platform. Look at that, specifically those 25 rules, and see that we need to change the severity level and some other things about this. And there is the option now to clone it. And create it. This now allows the user to look at this exact same rule set that we looked at earlier, but make modifications to those rule sets. And see whether it's enabling or encryption on these standard ones, that we can change the severity level. As an example, we've added a new severity level just as informational. Think of it as one step below low. But it's not critical for this environment. We can change it to medium. We can change the description. We can even change the logic on this, the GSL logic, if we have to. We can test this specific rule against that account or some other account and get some valuable feedback and a better understanding of how this rule works. Expand it and just take a look at some of those non-compliant rules that are part of these entity types. And yes, just like the resultants, we can drill down onto those security groups as well and get a closer look, modify if needed, all from the standard. Now, we could, as I mentioned, create our new rule for any custom rule set, and we can be very specific about a description that it might have, a particular ID, the VPC, a name. Maybe we want to enforce a naming standard. That is always a good idea. Default and launch wizard isn't a standard per se, and you can test that and make it part of your compliance rule set. Now, this since this is your rule set now that we cloned, you see, we do not have the GSL ID right now because this truly is a customizable rule set that you can keep track of, that you can modify as you see fit. You may not need to customize. You may only need to exclude a rule from a standard rule set. That can be done as well. And we can take a look at that standard framework rule set, exclude it. That is a specific rule. We can even do it by that environment. We can search on it as well, and then save it out. Certainly, a comment would be helpful. We can discard that at any time as well. But in this example, we have found that this rule set that we cloned, that we created, truly needs to be customized based on an upcoming audit or other security review. So we can run this initially just like we ran that first standard framework rule set and review the results the same way. There may be new rules in this rule set that we or others had made modifications to. But it is a similar looking report with the same interaction, the same export options in terms of export or printing that report, the same options to expand, but it may not be the same severity level as before because we changed it, or a change in the GSL syntax. But we can drill down into those security groups. We can, as we've looked at those already, we can look at other entities as well and expand upon that, drill down on that asset through our protected asset view. As you can see, it's coming up, and query against that, look at it from an entity standpoint. Yes, there's auto type involved that allows you to look at logging as an example. Encryption level here is also important, server-side encryption rules. We also are keeping track of it through our event activity and posture findings, specifically through a period of time. That all came from this compliance report results. So the quick review, we have ran a standard report, we cloned a report, we ran both, and we reviewed the results. We exported the results, as an example, through a CSV file or a more visual PDF. But now it is time to see if we can schedule that rule set and have it run on a regular basis. We do remember certain customized rules that we created. We see right here. We can add a policy that ties that particular rule set to that account, and then give us some options for where the results might be. We have something called the notifications, standard ones. They are building blocks that you can mix and match the notification to a variety of different policies that you have created. If none of them that you recognize, you can certainly create your own. This was a 104 test, and we see that we have that ability to send those results to the events and alerts console. These informational icons will be helpful for the first time you do it. We can not send it to the alert console and email it on a, as I mentioned, daily, weekly, monthly, or custom day to multiple people. We can give you a detailed report or a simple summary. Or if it is a large set of results, it can be zipped up for email systems that may reject large files. We can filter on, as we have throughout, particular areas of concern that could be sent. We can send an immediate notification, think of it as a delta from the previous assessment, to a set of email addresses or singular. We can send an SNS notification via SNS topic. We can now send to a variety of third-party integrations as listed here. Certainly there's an authentication process involved with that needs to be respected. And we support security management systems as well, including PagerDuty. So you can create those from scratch or use an existing one. This will save much time when you are creating multiple scheduled reports. At any time, you can send the results to your alerts console. I certainly can modify that or unassociate that. I don't need that to notify the security console with events anymore. My test is done. I can certainly unassociate that. Notifications is listed in a couple of different places now in this newer menu system. We see it here under settings as well. It gives you a complete list, and like others, we can filter on that list. We can look at it from that compliance standpoint. We can look at it from the status, whether it's normal or there was an issue, and be able to look at it and add your own notification. It's good to have one place where you can see all your notifications, and it is very important with our posture management to be able to send those results in a logical place. Now, during these simple tests, we see we're keeping a history, an assessment history of those reports. I had preloaded this with a filter relative to a standard framework to a particular account. And we see through exclusion and some changes that we have and are getting a better set of results with less failures. And that same report is listed here that we literally ran minutes ago. Yes, that is just one rule set against one account. You certainly want to take advantage of this filtering option. You can look at it from a custom time period as well. You're doing some review, and you might be concerned with a specific time frame in the past that you want to take a look at, whether there are any interesting report results that you need to review for that specific time. So the assessment history is a running list, but also a filterable list as well. Now, when this was run, it was, if set in the notification process, the posture findings, the alerts that are associated with them go to this event menu, specifically posture findings, and will populate it and allow you to search on a variety of results based on what your immediate focus is. It can be a specific account that you're interested in. It could be a severity level, obviously, very important to take a look at that. We need to always look at it through a known specific time when those reports were run. The severity level, only interested in what was high. You can see these are color coded. And be able to look at this across multiple accounts. Yes, I could add other or all accounts here. It doesn't have to be just one account. It can be many. Take that and export that. This is a common theme throughout. You can export findings, whether it's in the protected asset view, the security group view, in a variety of different ways. Here, we focused in on a few different accounts based on the severity level. We may not be interested in a severity level. We might be interested in a entity type. All things related to security groups. We can expand, much like our assessment report history, and look at it from the GSL ID, the rule set link, the description, the remediation steps involved, and of course, the actual logic associated with that rule. We could actually assign it to someone, which it is another CloudGuard Dome 9 user. If that is something that you want others to look at, and then they can take a look at it through filtering, we can clear that all out and start from another perspective as well. Maybe just relative to a singular platform, a specific OU that was being used could be helpful as well, or even a region or a source might be. Since we test against a variety of different environments now, filtering, as you can see, is a very valuable tool in which to not just run the report, but actually review the results of those report runs in a very particular way. So that is the resultants, the events, or what we refer to as the alert console view of everything that has been run under these rule sets, whether it was something that you ran manually or through a scheduling process. with regards to managed or cloned or customized, all through here. We're now back up at the dashboard, and we see we have a dashboard that has, with a widget that shows the latest high and critical security alerts. We could modify that, much like we can throughout, and change the look and feel of the visual. We could add a particular filter as well. So now the work that we have set up now is presented to us in the first screen that we see, and allow us to take a look at it, drill down on it, customize it, and be able to make some good recommendations on finding what the issues are, all through posture management, rule sets, customized or otherwise, the resultants, and then looking at it and making some very good security recommendations. This ends our CloudGuard introductory compliance training. Thank you for your time.